Well, it's even about to get better as we tend to move over to something else that's also going to interest you and be of great benefit to you. You're still on to This Morning on ITV. I am Anu Stevens, right here in Benin City. Now, we have an amazing guest with us right here in the studio. He is the past president of World Medical Association, Dr. Osahon Enabulele. He joins us this morning in the studio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
And welcome.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. I will give all the glory to God.
Okay, so just before we even delve into why you're here, I guess you want to talk about the foundation. We're having a conversation regarding brain drain and how you said it's really something to talk about, and it's really biting deep in the economy. So what do you think, really? What's your stance?
Well, thank you very much. I think the issue of brain drain is not new. It's been on for quite a long time now. What is important to note is that it's even moving at a more frenetic pace in terms of the increasing propensity for professionals and even non-professionals to travel out of Nigeria to other countries. And the issues are very clear in terms of the push factors. We have factors that are pushing them out of their country, which the government has not been able to address. Importantly, the issue of the insecurity, the issue of, for the professionals, their uncompetitive wages, of course, the disabling work environments, which is very real. I mean, you cannot, practice in Nigeria and say you are practicing, ID medicine, in most of the places. I'm not talking about the cities. I mean, because medicine is not only about cities. You have people living in rural communities, for instance. What are the kind of centers that we have there? So you have poor working conditions. You have, insecurity. And, of course, you have the issue of the uncompetitive wages. These are prime factors that are driving this whole phenomenon of brain drain. And nobody wants to stay in a country that is not appreciating him or her. Because again, we talk about the whole issue of lack of the appreciation of the sense of worth and value of these professionals. When you go outside the country, people, they see you for who you are in terms of they respect what you are offering, in terms of the value proposition that you bring in. Unlike here, where it looks like those who really we have poor role modeling, really, in our country. I mean, people are no longer recognizing merits. People are no longer recognizing value. And so you find those who really are even so pretending over common prosperity or common affairs as people who really did not go through the kind of rigorous pathways that some of these professionals went through. And that is a very unfortunate situation we find ourselves in our country.
But then again, reacting to all of this, we saw the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, came out recently to talk about how Nigerians should be patriotic and all. What do you make out of that? You
cannot drive patriotism from nothing. I mean, it's patriotism is informed by the kind of value that people think that the country has also bestowed on them. So if you find an American, for instance, is so patriotic to the American nation because America is there for him or her. In Nigeria, just look at kidnapping, for instance. Most families have been left stranded. They've left to, solve those problems for themselves. I mean, you pay huge ransoms. No government comes to your rescue. You are left abandoned. And so after you come out from the stranglehold of the kidnappers, for instance, are you going to be patriotic to the country?
Honestly, I feel like there's
there are issues that drive patriotism, and that is why we say today we don't have a nation.
Absolutely.
Even when you go to that whole issue of the narrative of whether we have a nation or not.
Well, indeed, God will help us, the Nigerian factor, as we would say.
Well, we always talk about God. God helps all nations. We have to do our bit.
Okay, so now let's talk about the launch and the colloquium that will be happening on Wednesday. What's it all about?
Well, yeah, fine. Thank you very much. Now, the colloquium, it's been driven by the Dr. Osahon Enabulele Foundation, which is to be unveiled and launched on the 29th of January, just Wednesday here, at the Akindeke Auditorium from 10 a.m. And it's not just a launch. Importantly, we are using that opportunity, that platform, to drive renewed conversations amongst Nigerians, to look at how we can, of course, reattune ourselves to some fundamental ideals, particularly bordering on the issue of leadership, which we believe is key towards reforming our country, reigniting hope amongst our people. And of course, it's also one of our fundamental strategic trusts as a foundation. We consider leadership and governance as key towards driving development, even impacting on the other human capital development indices when you talk about education, health, and all of that. So we want to have leadership conversation on that day, looking at there are several questions troubling the Nigerian states. And one of the fundamental questions is the leadership question. And so we're going to be interrogating the leadership issue, bringing experts from very, very, erudite scholars to come and engage this, and of course the Nigerian people also being part of this conversation. We're also going to be looking at the whole issue of leadership recruitment, for instance, in a very, what do you call the granular level, to look at what really has been, happening in terms of leadership recruitment in Nigeria, tying that to the election management. We're also going to be talking about health rights, because we recognize that health is wealth, truly and really, not the kind of lip service that is paid to it in most parts of, in terms of the most governments of Nigeria. We want to really let people know, how can we practically attain health rights? How can Nigerians attain health rights? How can universal health coverage that the whole world is racing to achieve by 2030, how can we achieve it in a way that every Nigerian, wherever you are, whether in the rural community or the urban community, you have access to quality health care, not on the basis of tokenism, but on the basis of real need, all right, and not affordability. So we want to see how we can, really identify those steps. Nigeria has signed all sorts of declarations. So we as a foundation, we envision actually a society that is where you have empowered citizens, where citizens, irrespective of their background or circumstances, can have access to these societal opportunities. Talk about education, talk about quality learning opportunities, and of course all of that driven through good governance and leadership excellence. So we are all about pursuing leadership excellence and good governance, and of course leveraging on other strategic trusts of education, health, and of course we're going to be doing a lot of social philanthropy as well, because we recognize that you cannot be driving people to a new ideal, to commit themselves to new ideas, without also addressing their objective socio-economic conditions. As we speak today, over 133 million Nigerians are said to be multidimensionally poor. So you cannot have that kind of large mass and expect to have reforms and progress or people to listen to you. So we're also going to be doing a lot of social philanthropy, especially leveraging on our international partnerships. So the foundation has key issues that we're going to be focused on, but we recognize as prime the issue of leadership and governance. And that is why this colloquium on Wednesday, as a matter of importance, we focus on that.
All right, so you talked, so extensively on health rights, because a nation of sick people, definitely you're going to get less productivity. Now, what is your take on, the issue of health rights? The average man on the street might not know what an health right means. So what's your view on that? Well,
when we're talking about health rights, we're looking at, clearly we all understand that every human being is a sacred being. And we have inalienable fundamental rights, for instance, and we consider health as one of those fundamental rights of citizens anywhere in the world. Now, yours sincerely was one of those that fought for a clear expression of these rights for Nigerians, especially when we were fighting for the first legislative document that now talks about regulating and managing the health system in terms of the National Health Act. So we fought for inclusion of that level of expression of that importance of health rights, defense of health rights, protection of the health rights of Nigerians by the Nigerian government, by making health a fundamental right of all Nigerians, as you can find in Section 1 and Section 3 of the National Health Act, which is the first national legislative document, talking about how to arrange health and health system in Nigeria. So that talks about your right to access quality health care in any form, a minimum package of healthcare services being made available to you, not on the basis of, how much money you have in terms of the basis of affordability, but on the basis of need, whenever you need it. And that is what drives productivity, like you stated. That is what drives the prosperity of nations, because an unproductive nation really can be said to be an unhealthy nation. All right? And because you have unhealthy citizens. So when you have healthy citizens, you have productive citizens. So there's that nexus that people need to understand between health and economic prosperity and development. And that is the example we've seen in Asia and other countries that leverage on, of course, health, and of course the health rights of Nigeria, of their people. So when we talk about health rights, we're talking about your right to access health care, quality health care, not just health care, quality health care, on the basis of needs and not on the basis of affordability. And that talks to the whole issue of universal health coverage that the whole world is raising towards, to ensure that all nations in the world achieve universal health coverage by 2030. But unfortunately, Nigeria is nowhere there in terms of universal health coverage.
So this present administration, unfortunately, tends to be focusing on revenue generation as regards you know, part and parcel of what you're talking about, which is health right, which is embedded in the human, you know, development index. Now, how do you think you need to engage these persons by virtue of this colloquium? Who are those that you are inviting to speak more on human development index, which also boils down to health right of an individual as to how to access the very minimum of their healthcare needs?
Well, first, we've brought speakers that are very knowledgeable, people who have been there, you know, crusading for the health rights of Nigerians. For instance, Professor Friday Okonofa is one of the most renowned scholars when it comes to health advocacy, and he's going to be talking about how we can more fundamentally and practically attain the health rights of Nigerians, and also, you know, attain the dream of universal health coverage. So we're going to have them, you know, that day, you know, conversing with Nigerians. Nigerians also will give a feedback to us. So we invited people from all over Nigeria, really. It's not a Benin City colloquium. It's actually a national colloquium. So we've been able to invite people from all over Nigeria. We invited all scholars, you know, wherever they are. We invited past presidents of Nigeria. And it's just to let them know that something is going to happen on Wednesday.
Okay.
We've invited state governors from all over the country. We've invited legislators. We've invited everybody that is a Nigerian. Market women, students, you know, peasants, they're all Nigerians. They all have inalienable rights. And so we are not discriminatory. We're not discriminatory in our approach, in our selection of those to attend this conference. So everybody is welcome to the table, and it's free. It's not, there's no fee attached to it. We're not charging any fee.
Where would this be taking place?
It was going to be taking place at the Akin Deco Auditorium of the University of Benin, right here in Benin City. And Benin City, because like I have always said, you don't have to do your conferences in London or America before you can be seen to have engaged issues of importance to existential living. So anybody, anywhere, even in the rural communities, should be encouraged to begin to talk, to begin to engage issues that border on their existential realities.
Of course. And what's the time for this?
Time is 10 a.m. at the Akin Deco Auditorium. And we invite all Nigerians to be part of this conversation because we want to reignite hope. Nigerians have been thrown into what I call unfathomable depths of disillusionment, a miasma of hopelessness. And we want to reignite that hope. So this foundation is a beacon, is going to serve as a beacon of hope, creating a platform for people to altruistically and frontally confront the issues of the day.
All right, really must thank you so much, Dr. Osahon Enabulele, for bringing us to studio today. Thank you so much. So all that apparently leads to the University of Benin on Wednesday for this amazing event.